anything, and then I'll step out.
That's right, recording.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, where is, oh, is it right there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the camera.
Perfect. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit. We're going to talk about student orientation. I think we can probably all introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Brent, Colby. I'm on staff at Evergreen Christian Community down in Olympia, and I oversee our NPP program there. Been a pastor in the network for a while, graduated from Northwest, taught on campus and online for a while, so I love the whole student gig, love working with students, and yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm Kayleena. I'm actually, okay, so I'm at Evergreen now, but I was at Kalispell with Canvas. I was formerly the student life director at Canvas, but now I'm the coordinator at Evergreen. So just kind of in between, but it's about a month, right?
Yeah.
I've been around, so just switching, and it's great.
Tell them what a student life director does, because
Yes.
I already asked that. So for our purposes at Canvas and Kalispell.
So my job was recruitment. I was at camps, I was at any youth event that we did, and then I did, let's see, housing. We had a housing program, so if you guys want to talk about that ever, I'm totally free. We,
And then events, like our
events. I would plan any student events, like chapels we would do every Wednesday morning, and then any kind of party, any holiday that we have, we can celebrate. Just trying to bring the students together and really build community. So basically, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, probably a lot of little jobs, but I mean, basically it's just any
picture what that
student.
looked like for what that means for us.
Mhm.
And I'm Lorri Strand. I'm the, I guess, Montana Regional Coordinator. Right now we have 2 churches, and I'm at Canvas, and Canvas is my heart, and my main job is coordinating our students. We launched in fall 2017. And so I started part-time with Northwest University. You guys heard Daryl in the back, he's a hustler, and so he convinced Northwest University to hire this position for Canvas on a deal that we would get to 40 within 2 years, which we did. And so now I'm full-time with the goal of 80. So that's what that's looked like.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Are you guys recording?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think we're good to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Canvas, these guys, they've done an awesome job. We took our team out there to kind of spy on them and just rip off all of their stuff. So we're hoping to share some of both of our stuff with you guys to rip off yourself and make it better, and hopefully share it with everyone else someday too. But yeah, we'll talk about student orientation. And we put a very simple outline together. The last slide is what about you is the question we want to ask what you guys are doing. I think we'll probably all get a lot more out of more of a discussion format. But we met, I think, once online and tried to figure out what are some basic things that both of us did, kind of universal principles. And we also we'll give you guys a handout of both of our, I think it's kind of our orientation agenda, checklist type stuff that you guys can check out and then copy and make better yourself. But we thought the first thing was when we planned our orientations was just to ask basic questions. Lorri, what are some of those questions you guys start asking?
We like the basic question, like, is it mandatory? Do they need to be at orientation? Our answer is yes, they need to be there. So then therefore, lots of advance notice so that they know to plan for it, because it's at the end of the summer, so that they need to be there. What else? Basic questions, why are we doing it? To get them excited and invested. For us, we don't, and these are tweaks, these are pivots we've made over the last 2 years. We don't fire hydrant them with information during orientation. It's about the excitement and the community at Canvas and part of the education. So we give them like 2 weeks to decide on their internship. Take that pressure off before school's even started. Like, what internship? We present all of that at orientation, but we take that pressure off for their first year. And again, same with academics. Like the first year, we try to really give them all the information. It's just so overwhelming, and they end up having so many questions the first week anyway. So we just decided we're available the first week. We don't really do anything else. We're at our laptop somewhere where they can access, have access to us and ask questions. So, like, those are some of the basic stuff that we did, and then we've changed, and you're just tweaking. It's a living, breathing thing. We're just always changing it. What else? It's for students, not parents, because we've decided. Like, recruiting can be for parents. Preview days, opening your church up to see how it all flows. the NU accreditation, all that stuff was for parents, but orientation is not for parents, it's for students and fun. And then for us, we do it, because we kind of started out over 20, our first semester, we quickly realized we couldn't do a retreat.
Yes.
It's just not in the budget, you know? So we make it like a 2 to 3 day event. So they come the first day and get a lot of swag and a lot of fun stuff, and we have like a meeting and a presentation, and they meet everybody and kind of walk through some things, and then the next day,
It was just a fun day. We
yeah.
did a lake day.
Oh yeah, luau.
Yeah.
Somebody in our church.
Yeah.
Two different times we found somebody in our church to open their home that had a wonderful backyard, and we've done like a meal and volleyball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we found that really worked because, I mean, that's the first time all the students are together bonding, and so that really helped move us forward. But then the next day we just did a lake day. I think
Yep.
both days we
Lake
did
day,
that,
yep.
both years. And then Canvas has gatherings on Wednesday night, so we would have the students come and they would go to our lake day for like 3 to 4 hours. They'd have a little break, and then they would come to the gathering at night. And so they could really come and experience what Canvas is and really see what they're,
Because, I mean,
getting
surprisingly,
into.
we
Yeah.
had a handful, I would say an exact handful of students who had never been.
Right.
Like, they moved to Kalispell. And it wasn't because of Canvas, and it was for the program. So, yeah, they maybe had never been to a gathering or hadn't seen what Canvas was all about, so.
Yeah.
I think one of the strengths of this program, and it's also can be a weakness too, is that you can do whatever you want. I mean, there's so much freedom for you
Yes.
to choose. So I think, when we start planning the thing, we always go to that first question of like, why, what is the purpose of this orientation? When it's done, how will we determine whether or not this was a success, right? So I think this is kind of a no-brainer, and even we heard from some of the churches of them asking that question, like, okay, why are we doing this thing? We have a bunch of students, but is it serving our purpose? So I think for us, we literally will write down, here's some objectives. One, we want students to make sure that they get their hands on a copy of the student handbook from Northwest University, and we produce a student handbook on behalf of the church, which is basically just a tweaked version of our employee handbook. And we're like, if there's discipline stuff, we need to have just something in black and white. So
Yes.
we need to cover that. 2, we want them to build some relationships. Okay, so how are we gonna, so we just basic stuff that you guys all do intuitively, you all know, but we just outline like, what are our major objectives? And we need to have that before we can build the schedule. So I know, just kind of outlining that. When you guys, I'm curious, Lorri, when you guys put your agenda together, when you ask that why question, is it the same every time? Do you just assume you know it, or do you guys go through a process of determining?
Well, I think, the first year was interesting because, Daryl was a youth pastor for 17 years, 14, 17,
Wow.
anyway, a youth pastor for a long time. So he gets that hype and the events and, what's needed and all that. And, I think at first we thought we had to do everything that first week. The Canvas culture, the academics, the internship, like have all our ducks in a row so that they can make it, and it's just too much information for them. It's too much so that's a decision we made year 2, is just to make it like more fun and more relational and get them, like it's required for us and for our 3rd years now starting in 2019. So it's required for every, not just first year students, it's required for all of them so that we can,
Wow, look at
Thank
look.
you.
Wow, that's,
Sorry we're late.
okay, yeah. See how many copies he brought too as well, right? See that?
I know, I sent text
No,
Brent
yeah.
and see what he
Brent, we're
wants.
sharing this.
Thanks. Save me the bottom half. Yeah.
so.
Yeah. What are some questions you guys ask when you ask yourselves that? Why are we doing orientation? Have you had some epiphanies as you guys process that yourselves in your different ministries and schools?
How many have done an orientation yet?
That's a good
First year?
Yeah.
A lot of the same questions that we're asking, because we're just setting it up. It's gonna be our first year, and so we've got our calendar out and kind of working calendar, right?
Right.
So one thing I wanted to know is we were gonna plan a retreat in the fall for team building. Why do you say no? Is it too
I'm not saying
stressful?
no. I'm not saying no for that. I'm saying
Yeah.
no because of our size.
It was just, yeah.
It
How
was
many-
too hard to plan. We started with 23,
Okay.
and we tried, right, Daryl? We really thought it through and tried, and there just wasn't the location, budget, and all of that.
No, we're big
So
enough
that's
to
why
go.
we patched together 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
But bigger's not better.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
And the
everybody
budget
does.
is great.
Is the budget because we don't get our funding until
Fifth week of
the
semester.
5th week of semester.
And we do a retreat, so we're at a smaller size. I think our biggest retreat we've had so far was 16, and we just found an Airbnb. There's just this giant like complex of cabins near us, and so we just scored something within like a 2-hour drive. So we just said everybody meet at this location, and we just bought tons of food. It was really cheap when you did the price per head, and we just spent just one night with the crew. So we said show up at noon, and we're gonna leave at noon. So it was a 24-hour window. So we had 1 or 2 times where we had them sit down and we just gave them information. We tried to, everything we told them, we tried to have in writing. So those who couldn't process all of it verbally at least had a document they could go back to. And then we just played. We had like a worship night, campfire. I mean, it was just really, it was awesome. And a lot of our students there were in our flex program, our adult students who weren't on campus doing the internship thing every day. And that moment of them connecting, we had a few touch points during the year. We made sure they were at that. We made sure they were at Christmas. In the spring, we did one like bowling or social kind of hangout day, and then an end of the year celebration. So just those 4 touch points with them made it all feel real and personal. But that kickoff retreat was really key for us to do it. In fact, this year our enrollment is still kind of up in the air, so we're trying to figure out, how big are we, which will determine where we go, how we set it up. But we try to keep the costs really low and just simple. I think
No,
that's a huge
and
takeaway.
yeah, I apologize, we would love to.
Yes.
We really want to. It would be super positive and a good connection and bonding for everybody. We just haven't figured it out. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Kayleena, I have this one. I'm thinking of you, Kayleena. We talk about who you're orienting
Yeah.
in student life. Like, how do you figure out what the students want, what they're looking for? Like, what's your process?
I mean, for me, it worked because I am a student, and so, I mean, and I had like a bunch of friends that were in the program, so I would just ask them basic questions like, hey, what would be fun for you guys for an orientation? And so I think that's where the student life came in, is we were gonna plan a party, we were gonna go hang out on the lake, and then we also did a campfire, a bonfire, where all of our students came and they shared testimonies, and we did a worship thing too. So I think when thinking about it, it's okay, yes, we're loading them with information, but what are the students going to want to do, like to have fun and bond with each other? I think that's one thing that I think about when I think about orientation, is how can we bring the students together? Because you really are, you're bringing them together so they can know each other and first meet each other. So I want to make that a connection point to where they're going to remember it and think back and be like, hey, that was where I met some of my greatest friends.
Well,
So,
right, because what is college?
right.
It's so much more than just your education.
Yeah.
So much more. So, and that's from the beginning. I've been like, how do we make this real? This is
Yes.
real college. How do we? It's always the question I'm asking. But, this is real college. How do we convince everybody else it's real college? And it's the relationships are a big part of it,
Yes.
and fun, memories and fun. Yeah.
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 So here's a little more practical, and I'll hand these out. That's right, Lorri. These are
Yeah.
just some stuff that we had. So the actual process of doing the orientation.
Do you want me to hand it over?
Sure. What is this? Oh, these are on the same. This is, okay, so I'm going to give you, this is our modified student this is our employee handbook modified for students. So I give this to you as a reference, not as like a perfect version of this. And we didn't have this until last year. So we thought, man, we need something in case something goes down. Like, we need some documentation. So if we do have a discipline, a student, we know that we have something in writing, so we're consistent. So we give them the NU handbook and our student handbook, and they're like 99% the same. One interesting discussion is our employee handbook at the church doesn't have like a alcohol policy, right? So when we orient the students, we let them know, hey, this is our guidelines, this is our standards. We hold you to the same standard as all of our employees. Also, the Northwest University standard does. So there's some points where there's going to be different levels of accountability. You are accountable to both of these. So you may notice we don't have a written alcohol policy for somebody over like an adult over the age of 21. However, Northwest University does have policies in writing. You're accountable for both of these, so act like an adult and make a good choice, basically is what we tell them. So, and that's kind of our theme, is like, you're adults now and we're going to treat you like adults. So this is very simple, but just gives us some basic guidelines if something ever does come up and we need to hold students accountable to our basic behavior. But our line is staff level. We treat you like staff when you're here, just kind of our principle.
And then the packet I handed out is just it's kind of a combination of the orientation folder, like the folder you got today for this conference. It's the same folder. We give a similar folder to recruiting and orientation. It's a lot of the same language. So, and there's a handbook, signature, background check, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And this other document just handing out, super simple. This was just our outline. Not only staff saw this, so it's super simple and kind of ugly, but we just had part 1, overview the handbooks. Part 2, evergreen values, just a real quick, some of the stuff from our lead pastor, some stuff we want them to know. This is our DNA. Part 3, lifestyle standards. Part 4, discussion. Any questions, let's ask the questions now. And then part 2, that was our second huddle, worship and devotional. Practicum, we covered all the schedule, all the dates. We literally said, pull out your phone, you're gonna log into your NU account right now, so your emails show up on your account. I am blown away at how technology dumb people are if it's not an Instagram or an app, like they don't know how to use it. So we literally checked everyone's phone to make sure that they had their email set up and their calendar was showing up as well, because we'll use their NU calendar to invite them to key events and things like that. And then overviewed our weekly schedule, academic standards and coaching, NU online resources. So that was basically it. So we just tried to keep it simple like you guys did, but made sure that we covered most of the basics of that. Yeah. Anything you guys see that you've done that's missing, and only if you have done orientations or in your planning that are kind of risen to the surface as something that you really want to do that's not on here?
A quick question I would have, and you had mentioned this a little bit, where you have 2 different groups, like a flex program, I think you mentioned. We have an adult program with, not all of them are students of Northwest, but 17 people in an adult internship program.
Oh, wow.
And so we've tried it both ways, orienting new people together for these 2 programs that look pretty drastically different in terms of the outworking. What has that been like, combining them together? Do you find yourself having to communicate pieces of information that maybe don't apply to like half the room?
In our situation, our flex program, that has been so small. It's just been 1 or 2 people.
Okay.
And so usually it's small enough where I can like sit down with them and be like, hey Nate, you're in our flex program this semester, just know that you and I are going to touch base once a month. You can reach me anytime. If you have any questions, let me know. And they know what they're signing up for when they sign up for that, but they're not doing the whole internship, student life thing. And that's often what they're looking for. We don't promote that, we don't recruit for that, but every once in a while we have someone just in our web of influence who knows the program, wants to plug in. So we're like, it doesn't take anything away from us with the students, and it's a great opportunity for them. So that's kind of where the flex program sits for us.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point that we'll probably have to look at too, how much information does everybody need in their 3rd year or it's flex, but for now, I think it's important that they're all together in the same room sometimes, getting the same information, and we treat the 2nd year students and will be 3rd year students like they're leaders, so they need to be here and helping create community and getting connected, so that's part of it. It's like, yeah, I know you're hearing this again, but this is part of what we do here, buddy up and everybody's on the same page and the same culture.
We have adult learners and we have our interns, and so it's not as drastic as we have adult interns that are learning something different, but we do have a day 1 where everybody has to be there, and then we do a retreat with just the interns.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. Anything else here?
I think we had one last talking point before we had questions. What elements does your orientation require?
I think this is more like planning 101. Do you guys have like a big checklist? Or how do you
Well, I would say for me, the key thing is so again, back to what's real college. This is a real college. What do colleges have? They have swag. They have merchandise, with their college name on it. So
And
for
you used
me,
to
that
dress
was a
up
big push.
in a mascot costume.
Yeah.
Right.
You do that. That was good.
Yes.
That was my role.
Yeah.
Kalispell, what was it? Kalispell,
The Cubs.
Cubs, that's
The
right.
Cubs.
Bear Cup, that was good.
No, that's so important.
Yeah, and so you can, it can be a budget concern. I totally get that, and we started out pretty small, but you can do lanyards, stickers. You maybe don't do T-shirts and sweatshirts right away, but sunglasses are
Yeah.
super cheap. Sunglasses with the logo on the side, you know, so to me, for me personally, that's important. Part of orientation is giving them some rep, you know,
Yes.
that they can take out in the community, to their family, be proud. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I think one we've covered, but like events, that's super important. Just making a fun environment. I think that,
The
is
play
one of
hard.
the-
Play
yeah,
hard.
the play hard. Like we're gonna hang out, we're gonna do our work and we're gonna work hard, but yet we're gonna play hard together too. So we're gonna go have fun. So I think that's super important. And I think that we saw a lot of our students, like, they bonded in that first, you know, the first 2 days that they were together at orientation. And it helped, so we had 5 apartments, and so it helped those students in the apartments, it helped them bond together too. So we just found that just really helped long term for our students and their relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, it's basically like event planning. You guys have probably done a lot of that in your ministries and church, so have tons of snack, don't over program it, keep
Yeah.
it simple,
Yeah.
think just some of those basic principles, and you guys are masters of that in your own ministry context, so
Right.
yeah, just keep it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last thing, we just
What do you guys do? What's something you guys have done that's been like a home run where you're like, oh, you guys have to do this, we did it, it was great? Any experiences or anything you're planning, you're like, hey, we have high hopes for this thing's gonna be sweet?
We go to Disneyland with our.
That's cheating! That doesn't count, that's cheating!
Winning. That's
Don't do that.
We're from California, it's only a few hours away, so we do our orientation with everyone, and then we do a serve opportunity
Oh, that's
with
cool.
everyone in Oakland, and then we pack our bags and head to Disneyland. We do the Airbnb thing where we,
That's
you know,
awesome.
have worship and all that, but that's like a big, exciting thing
Yeah,
that
that's
I really
really
look
cool.
forward to.
Do they pay extra for that, or is that
It's
something the program provides?
It's covered since they are the interns.
I think if your church can like upfront the money for that very first event in your new church,
Yeah.
then you'll always have the extra program money from the semester before, the $1,300 per student.
Yeah.
What's your budget on that Disney?
I am not on the budget, but my husband Paul is here. And
Oh, okay.
If you want to touch base with him,
Sure.
he would be more than happy to.
Yeah,
do that
absolutely.
with you. Yeah.
Anything else you guys have done that's clicked well or planning to do that you hope will work well?
Well, we've always done more of like a traditional orientation model, so like people come to our classroom and we present a lot of the information. I think what I'll probably implement this year is more of a fun element on top of that, to create that community up front. But we haven't added the fun element in the past. It's always been more of like a classroom type setting. So with like balloons and snacks,
Right.
but still not that fun element.
Yeah.
So hope to add that this year.
Tell me about that internship. So they don't sign up until 2 weeks in. What's that 2 weeks look like? How do they learn about the internship?
Just getting a feel for everything. Yeah, we do, and we do, in our orientation, we do a classroom sort of afternoon. They all come to the lobby and get hugely celebrated and get their swag, and we're so happy you're here and all that stuff. And then we go down to a smaller auditorium, and it is a lot of front loading. It's not that we don't do that during orientation, but last year we had all our leads come in, all the intern leads come in and kind of just, you know, so that they could put a face with it, and just kind of talk about what it would look like and what they would do. Yeah, and they just,
Visit different
yeah,
ministries.
there's so much for them to adjust to with getting the online format, the education part of everything, and we require Tuesdays and Wednesdays all day, as part of the class. So just adjusting to that the first 2 weeks is a lot, and then we require them to, you know, they sign something and turn it into us of what internship they want to pursue.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It just takes the pressure off. They feel
Yeah.
so, and second year, it's not like that. You know, they know what they're doing already, but for first years, yeah.
Do you guys show those like tutorial videos and stuff, or how do you walk your students through how to use all the online?
We did show a tutorial video, and it just, I think that's when it became super clear to me that it's just, it's too much information. And especially the high eyes, if you guys are familiar with the disc at all, the people, the extroverts, super overwhelmed by all those details.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to sit down with them on the first day of school, you know, and answer questions and do it in person.
And a lot of,
But it's separate from your internship orientation, and then you do more of like an academic orientation.
Yep.
yeah. And a lot of the second years, like, they're available to help the new students too. So that's been really cool to see that they can just build and help each other.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, once you get it, it's easy, but
Yeah.
then, at
It
first
just,
it's
yeah,
real
it takes a
scary.
minute, it takes a minute to
so-
adjust to the format, figure out where to go.
Have you made any big changes in your program that then you've had to communicate to existing students? Like, so we started with students having virtually no expectations. I mean, like, it was like, this program exists, do it how you'd like, you know, kind of thing, you know. And now, you know, heading into year 2, it's like, oh, we need some serious structure here, you know. And so our orientation is really going to be looking like a time of casting vision for what will be, you know, and helping bring people into alignment.
Yeah, I'll tell you a big change we're gonna make next year is attendance.
Mhm.
We're gonna be tracking that a lot more
Okay,
closely.
yeah.
Because of the number of students, we can't easily be like, was
Were they there?
Was, you
Yeah.
know, where was in chapel, you know,
Yeah.
or during live classes or whatever. So that is something we're gonna have to, and that'll be 30-some that show up every week, but we have to communicate that too. Like, you get 5 absences, chapel, internship, staff meeting, you know, you get 5 for the
whole
semester.
And it's not per day, it's per,
Semester.
event or, okay.
No, it's the whole. Like, you don't get to miss 5 internship hours, you don't get to miss 5 staff meetings, you know, it's combined, yeah.
Our program has changed significantly. This is my 3rd, I jumped in the middle of the first year. Last year was my 2nd year, now we're about to start our 3rd year, and we've changed it significantly every year. First year, all they had to do was be here for the hour leadership class and up to 4 hours of internship. And we were really missing that college feel. In fact, we had part of our original, one of the original assumptions that we made was that people are here because they don't want a traditional college experience. Because there are 3, there's a state college, a private Christian college, and a community college, all within 5-10 minutes of our campus. There's also like 4 other MPPs like 10 minutes away. So there's like, they have a billion options. So we thought people are gonna come here because they want it flexible, they want it cheap, they want to do their own thing. But really, as I got to know the students and see them in their element, I realized, they do want a college experience. They just want a different experience. So that first 1-hour internship, 1-hour leadership class plus 4 hours internship, so total of 5 hours, we doubled that last year. So we said, okay, instead of 5 hours a week, we want you guys here 10 hours a week. We want you here all day on Mondays. We structured a Monday. And this is actually part of after visiting you guys and seeing the students on campus and having some sort of community. So they're all day Monday doing stuff. Our pastor has such a heart for this. He changed our staff meeting schedule so the students could attend chapel and be part of it. And we had leadership classes. And so they had this full day experience, and then they also did their internship. So it went from a total of 5 hours to 10 hours. And then again, last year, we're like, it's not enough. It's still not scratching that itch. And so we're adding a Tuesday on top of that. So now we're saying, give us Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's a 20-hour week commitment, and it's a part-time job. Being here is a part-time job. Now, part of this is we had to self-differentiate ourselves from some of our neighbors and the different types of programs, because every church looks at it differently. But we went from saying, this is going to be a really easy, really simple way to get a degree, saying this is probably the hardest possible way you can do this. But if you're here, we're investing into you a ton. And so that's our shift going into next year. And I think it's going to be close. It fits our pastor's heart. It fits the culture of what we want to do. And we're really zeroing in on those people who want to do some type of ministry. Maybe not lead pastors or pastors, but some ministry with a vocation. And so, and to answer the question, lots of personal conversations, and we started telling them about this in like October. So like we already knew going into last fall that this still isn't enough. So we just communicate. Are you good? Are you good? Do you need anything? We'll get your work schedule figured out. I mean, we've been just pestering about it for months, so they're prepared for it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're getting off orientation, kind of getting into how what they're doing. But just to piggyback on that, like, be prepared. Like, I was front-loaded in the first conference I went to in 2017. Like, relationships and conversations with the student and constant counseling is probably going to be the biggest part of your job. And that's what's gonna make them feel needed and known. And that's gonna contribute to retention, is that they don't feel overlooked. You know, that's the beauty of this, and not, you know, going to traditional college. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, so maybe you can talk to that. As far as, so it sounds like 24 hours is kind of what you're requiring for your
Yeah, 28,
students.
it's the way we break it up between the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, those aren't full like work days, so it's like 20 hours. On paper, it says, it looks like 20 hours a week.
And then do you have your tutoring sessions built into that, or do you have other times set up for those kinds of things? Study hall.
For us, we
tutoring.
require Tuesday, Wednesday, pretty much all day. Tuesday is our staff meeting, so our students come and are required, not invited, they're required to our Canvas staff meeting, so they see all of it. And we got some feedback this year that they feel that they love that. They feel so valued that, you know, we're not faking it, you know, that they're really getting to see what's happening in a healthy church culture. And then after that, after staff meeting, it is study hall pretty much all day. You know, they'll run and get coffee, come back, go to lunch, come back. But we're available for questions. We've got some classrooms this year that we didn't have last year. We moved downstairs to lower level, and so there's lots of spaces for them to hang out. But we expect that they're there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then Wednesdays are the school chapel, so CSM chapel, first thing in the morning. And then there's usually we have. This is important to me, and I know it's not for everybody, but we do live classes. So we have 4 pastors on staff that have their master's degrees and are approved to teach for Northwest University. So they just take that online format. It's not any different than anything anybody else takes. It's just that our instructor is there with them. And so we do a 90-minute, you know, instructional time on Wednesdays. And we actually had 2 of those going at the same time on Wednesday mornings. Yeah, Tuesday afternoon.
And so is that like the online video and just your staff person is there, or are they just doing it live?
They're doing it live.
They're doing it all.
Same
Okay.
as it's the online format and turning in assignments the same way they would if they didn't know who their instructor was.
Okay.
If they only knew their name and never saw them. Yeah. But like our lead pastor teaches, Daryl teaches. Yeah.
And you might be referring to like our smart thinking, where you can get a live online tutor.
Yeah.
And a lot of churches they have an actual gal that volunteers to come in and meet with the students.
Mm-hmm.
Or the students, it's just a dedicated space and there might not be an actual staff person manning it. But yeah, there is that opportunity to use the online tutoring. And it's just a professional, somewhere in the world, it's 24/7 access. You can meet with them live, or you can submit your paper and they can give you, responses.
Yeah, we let them know about that. We have people on staff, so ours is built in to answer your questions, part of that Monday schedule. So we have them in the room. I think there's about a 3-hour window where they're doing their studies. I'm available. We also have a number of the instructors on campus, so we're spoiled there, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, so when you say you're available, is there a coordinator sitting in the study hall room with the students the whole time?
No, our office is downstairs.
Right. So they come and visit you.
They're adults.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because
Right.
I work from home.
Yeah.
I don't have space on campus at all, but there is a study hall time, but I don't attend it.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if a lot of programs do, or if that's kind of the norm.
We didn't have a required study hall our first year, and that was an adjustment we made the second year. Like, we just wanted them to train their brains. It's like, this is a day to get your work done, you know, because you have to work a lot. Like our students, the demographic is not going to be the student whose parents have a lot of money to pay for their college, you know, so they're working as well.
Right.
So you want them to have that dedicated time and teach them, this is your block of
Time management as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much our students took advantage of that to actually study. I thought it's going to be like ping pong hour, and we're going to be breaking stuff around the church. I'm going to be chasing them around. They work their butts off. It's really cool, actually. And so many of them are in similar classes together, and so they're able to partner up and work on stuff. I'm really surprised and impressed with how well they've done that.
And if you set that expectation, like, you need to ask, you can work, have a job, great, but Tuesday, Wednesday, you need to be off. And
We
then
only,
Yeah.
I think it's important to note, we only had 1 pregnancy in our program, so that's pretty good.
And like 7 marriages.
The pregnancy didn't technically happen in Kalispell.
This is being recorded.
We don't know that.
If you have any questions,
Like,
please,
Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
Anyway,
moving
So I
on.
don't know how that was related to study, but
I was just saying, everybody had a different focus.
Yeah. Yeah, any other thoughts or stuff you guys do that's been a success?
Andy, it's not that funny.
So orientation is typically 3 days, or?
For us.
Okay.
Yeah, for us. And like partial days, not three
Okay.
solid days.
And we do that overnight trip, so we'll do like Friday to noon, Saturday to noon. We're gonna go and camp out somewhere and do something fun. Yeah.
What does your staff's involvement in all of that look like?
Yeah,
So
that's good.
we've tried to place a huge emphasis on our staff really rallying around our students and our interns. And, you know, a lot of times I'm sure we all have busy staff schedules, like inviting people to one more thing to,
Right.
or, you know, so what does that look like? How, obviously the intern leads are coming in to present, but, in anyone's cases.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we did
There's lots
intern
of train of
hours,
thought, yeah.
so,
yeah, that's what I
each-
didn't finish on Wednesday. We're
Yeah.
talking about our Wednesday
each,
schedule.
um,
We have gatherings on
yes.
Wednesday, so Wednesday afternoons are intern hours.
internship hours, so it's like an hour of the internship lead just pouring into whoever's in that internship. So like there'd be youth, there'd be worship, kids, and they'd all have their specific times, and so that's kind of how, I mean, we encourage the staff to be a part. Other than that, I mean, they saw them at staff chapel, stuff like that, and so they were able to connect that way, but.
And I mean, it starts, you know, some of that starts at the top with your lead pastor, and ours has such a heart for it and is so passionate about it that it is, everybody knows it's a priority, you know, to pour into the interns. Having said that, it's not that, maybe it's not the first thing that slides off everybody's calendar, you know, when it's busy, that does happen. But, and we're gonna try to tighten that up next year, but, yeah, it's kind of an ongoing, you know, push-pull to keep, but, I mean, in general, the leads value the interns. It's like
same with, I mean, the leads at Evergreen. Like everyone's just so ready to pour in, and like at that time, I heard from some of the leads that's their favorite time of the week, just because they get to develop and hang out with all of these students that are eager, they're hungry, they're wanting more, and so that's just so much more fun. So I'd say both teams have really great leads that really want to pour into the students, and so if you can
So that's
create an hour.
in their internship time, or is that separate?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
that's
included.
part, for us, it's part of our Tuesday, Wednesday.
And that's two.
Yeah, that's our Tuesday. They spend time with their intern.
So you said they sign up for the internships, right, after hearing the internship leads? So your first years already choose their track, they don't like.
We talked about having everybody try everything, and we just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to force them, you know, to do kids.
Yeah, we did that last year.
Sounds like the worst thing in the world, so that, you don't want that, you don't want people in with kids who aren't loving it, you know, so.
We did it last year and it sucked. Like
Yeah.
everyone, we thought well, in your first year, you'll get just a sample of everything. And in my mind, this is great. We'll emerge with this holistic view of ministry and the Big C church, and they'll be greeting. And we have a couple campuses, and they'll go see small church in a small town, and they'll come here, and they'll do production, and they'll do kids and youth. It was miserable because by the time they finally figured everything out, it was time for them to switch.
Sure.
They were not useful to anyone. They hardly learned anything because they were like 7 weeks at each spot. We were just hopping around quick. And so we've totally changed our approach to that too, and just let them zero
That's
in
good,
on
I'm
stuff
glad
like
we
that.
didn't have to learn that the hard way.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough. There's a few, yeah.
I'd say, letting them choose, that's definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
It works. And then, I mean, at Campus, we did a semester commitment, right?
Yeah.
And then they could change if they wanted to something different, but we asked for that first semester just to stay in one internship. So that really helped. And not
And
a lot of students.
most of them stayed the
Yeah,
whole
they
year.
most, and even the next year too. So I think really being able to build. So, yeah.
And then that pouring time, was that one-on-one or was that
With a group.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have gotten some feedback this year, we did a survey, and I think some of them would like more one-on-one, but you're gonna have that, like, where some of them don't, you know?
Yeah, right.
And that's just part of life, but yeah, we're looking at that too, like, the one-on-one versus a group, and especially in a bigger, like, youth had like 10, 12 students, you know, youth interns, and, yeah.
sort of related to your question, I mean, it's not directly orientation related, but we've helped meet that need with staff who maybe aren't directly involved in the program on a day-to-day basis, but who students really want access to, and who we want them kind of catching things from. We have them leading our learning cohorts, which we do those, we say that that's the required learning element of the internship, and so we make them come to class, you know, for an hour per week. And that is with like some of our leads, some people who are really strong in some areas, and it creates a small group setting where they're getting that direct interaction with the people they're desiring without taking up huge amounts of that person's time. And we kind of teach the soft skills in those, so even if someone's in kids or production, you know, they're doing a leadership cohort with one of our leads, you know, things like that, where to gain those skills on top of it. And that has helped kind of, the staff haven't felt as hounded, and they're still getting that one-on-one time, and the students are enjoying it, so that's been winning out.
What do you mean by soft skills?
So we basically say there are certain skills that every student should have regardless of what path they're on. So wherever they're headed in life or ministry. So like this last term, we did leadership, creative, and communication. That we were basically saying no matter where you're headed in life, whether you're in a business degree, a ministry degree, you need to have these things. Yeah.
That's good, I'd like more.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah, yes. What? Life skills, well, yes, yeah, and basically we want them being successful employees when they hit somewhere, no matter what they're doing. You know,
That's really
like,
good.
we want our product to be good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Are you looking into making that a certificate part?
We are getting requests for that. So we actually we've launched a program this year where we have a 2-year worship leading certificate, which happens through the learning cohort model in addition to their degree. So we actually have students like in organizational management degrees, but then they're taking a worship certificate. Yeah.
That's how we're structuring ours.
Yeah.
We have a number of internships or school to ministry. So you pick your degree, you pick your school, and that combo is kind of we're trying to promote is you get your own unique kind of learning experience. Pick an academic degree, pick an internship, it's a 2-year scope and sequence, and that becomes your kind of unique experience.
And that's what we found. I mean, it's like it sounds like both of your programs are very different from each other, but it's your audience. You know, and that's we've looked at, okay, what are we good at? Well, it's this, you know, and so that's our job. Which
Well,
is
and
a
that's
different
in
job.
real big picture. I always say, like, as this type of education, as this alternative education catches on, you don't have to explain so much, like what it is, that people just know what it is. Then it's gonna be like choosing your college campus, your church culture that you wanna be a part of. You know, I see that is where it will go. You'll be like, I wanna be a campus, I wanna be at Evergreen. You know, that's who I wanna learn from. Once you get over that hump of like, what is that?
Yeah, thanks for chatting. I know we'll be hanging out here for a bit, and there's one more next workshop at 11, right? Thanks, guys.
for all the resources.
Thank you. Appreciate that, everybody. Thank you.
So you guys are starting this fall?
Yeah.
That's where are you at again?
We're in summer.
Oh yeah.
Where are you guys at?
Olympia.
Oh, you're in Olympia, okay.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
So I know our guys